Okay, here is my demonstration house. We're gonna start adding color now and some shading. I want you to think about your house and where is it gonna be the darkest, right? Where do you need the most amount of dark? The shingles on the roof, those are gonna be really dark. Uh, and all along the edges. If you have a porch like I do, underneath this porch is gonna be much darker than out here on this part of the house. This part of the house is gonna catch more light, so it's not gonna be as dark as is underneath here. This porch is creating a shadow underneath there, so I need to remember to make this darker than the front of my house. Let's start with the shingles because everybody always wants to draw all their shingles super specifically. I'm gonna grab just a regular brown pencil and maybe a black if I can find one out of my thing here. Well, that's green. I don't think I want green. Let's see if I can find black. Let's see. Oh, that's not even. That one's not sharpened. Ooh, this looks like black. Yes. Okay. So I'm gonna take a brown and a black. Now these are not watercolor pencils, okay? I want to give that texture of shingles, you know, the roughness, the little squares and all that. We don't have to draw them all. This is gonna be super dark anyways, but it's nice to have a texture that shows through. So I'm gonna take two regular colored pencils, a brown and a black, and I'm going to kind of scribble on my roof, but in a way where my lines go in the same direction as the shingles would. So you can see that the roof is going in that direction. So I'm just gonna draw some lines. Be careful to stay inside the lines. You don't want any of these like going outside the edges of your roof. We want to stay on your roof line, okay? But that's gonna go behind there, so that's fine. And then take the brown, do the same thing, get some brown in there. These lines are not with watercolor pencils. These are regular colored pencils. So guess what? You're going to still see them. This texture will show through even after I add water to this. And that's what I want, because I want to see this texture underneath the paint, right? Now I also want to crisscross, so I'm gonna make a few lines going this direction as well. And this is gonna give me a nice texture underneath the paint that I'm going to add later. There we go. Do a few black ones in there too. I'm not gonna do as many black, I just wanna kinda give that feeling. I'm gonna make it just a little darker by the edges. There. Now I have some texture on my roof. At that point, you can take your good old Sketch and Wash pencil now, and we can add some inky blackness to that roof that we will use water later to paint our roof with. So again, I want the edges to be darker than the middle. And it doesn't matter which direction I shade because this is gonna turn into paint, okay? I just want this to be nice and dark. And over here, it's gonna be even darker because this is behind the front part of the house. Did you see how carefully I went around the roof line of my house right there? That's kind of important because we want this to look like it's in front of the roof that's back there. So you have to be careful, and you're gonna also have to be careful when you add water to this to not mess with that, right? Okay, there we go. I want to try to make this demonstration a little faster, so I'm going to talk fast and move fast. Okay, there we go. I would probably spend a little more time on this if I didn't want to hurry. Now, up here, probably on top where we can't really see, there also is some shingles. We're just gonna kind of outline it at the top just to darken that a bit. Now my house, I think I want it to be white, right? Which means I don't have to really do any coloring on the siding of my house. But I have some bricks over here that I showed you guys how to do, so I'll work on the bricks a little bit. It's gonna be the same thing as the shingles, sort of. You're gonna choose some colors that you want your bricks to be. I think I'll stick in the brown realm. I'll choose some tans and some browns for my bricks. Let's see what I can find in here. Oh, I can use that dark brown that I already had. Maybe a little warm, like an orangey red, maybe. Okay, so these are normal colored pencils first. The bricks that we drew already, the little, 2 here, 3 here, we're going to randomly color those with these normal pencils. One here, one there. And that way, sorry. That way these brick shapes will stay brick shapes. When we paint later, you'll still see these. They're not going to smear or fade away. Make sure you even out your spacing of all these bricks so you have a little bit of every color that you choose all over the place. That will help them blend together a bit better. I'm not super crazy about this red, but I'm committed now. And you get the idea, right? Did I use this color yet? Nope. You don't even have to be super neat about it either. I'm gonna shade a few more in there just because I feel the need to have a few more bricks. I think it would look better. What do you think? Does it look bricky? Sort of. Good enough. Okay, now set your regular colored pencils off to the side. What I like to do is I keep my regular colored pencils on the right and I keep my watercolor pencils on the left. That way I don't confuse them. But the other nice thing is that all of these watercolor pencils have those silver tips to them, so they're easy to tell apart from the other pencils. So now I don't really have a brown, so I'm just going to use an orange in here, and then I'll use a Sketch and Wash too. So we'll just give this nice orange kind of color in the background, not everywhere. Do you notice how I'm not really filling in the whole thing orange? Ooh, be careful of that. Try not to get it on your regular parts of the house. Try to stay only in your bricky area. And then I'll take the Sketch and Wash and also add, maybe I should add some red too. But the Sketch and Wash, remember how strong it is, so you don't need a lot of it, okay? We wanted the roof to be really dark, but we maybe don't want these bricks to be so super dark. So that will start to look good there. For the siding on your house, you'll do something similar. If you want your house to, let's say, be blue, you would take like a blue colored pencil, and what I would do is I would trace all the lines, right? All these stripes that are your siding with your color that you want your house to be. And then I would take the watercolor blue and very lightly shade everything blue. You don't want it to be a bright blue, okay? And after you do that, then you're going to do your Sketch and Wash. So since my house is white, that means all my shadows are going to be gray. And I already drew these lines with a regular pencil, so that's probably good enough. But do you remember when we added, oops, I put that on the wrong side. Do you remember when we added, or when we practiced the water technique, that sometimes the lines would still show? So I'm going to actually make some lines over top of all of my rows of siding with my Sketch and Wash. And when I paint over it, those lines will slightly disappear, but the nice thing is that I still have the pencil underneath it, which will show. And now I'll have this that will also show. And when I add water to it, it's gonna look really nice, okay? Trust me. Just try to follow the lines that you've already drawn so that, it looks real. So that's what that's gonna look like. Now, remember I told you that things are gonna be darker in the corners. So you're gonna take your Sketch and Wash and you're going to add some darkness to the corners of everything like that. Now later when we add water to this, it's going to look super cool. I would probably shade underneath any features that you have, like it's gonna be a little darker underneath your windows probably. It's gonna be much darker underneath here. Remember I told you about the roof, but be careful, don't shade it as dark as the roof, right? But there will be quite a bit more shading going on underneath the porch because the roof is making that shadow. I'm so far avoiding my windows and my doors. I'm gonna put the detailing of windows and doors in a different video. Oh yeah, I already did some sketch and wash there. Maybe a little bit on the porch here. Maybe some down there. You really do want this painting to be pretty dark because it's nighttime. It's a haunted house. Come on, we want it to be dark, right? So just keep doing that. Oh, I need some shading down here. Just keep doing that until your house is starting to look nice and dark and scary. Remember that it's going to get even darker when we add water to it. I'm kind of using the side of my pencil when I do this so I don't make too many new lines because I don't want it to look liney after I add water to it. I keep going over things, and that's what I want you to do too. Keep going over it and over it and over it until it starts to look really good. What do you think? A little bit more up there.